What's up, you guys? It's me, your boy, Ronico Taylor. Welcome to the newest episode of Tired Granola Podcast. I here have an interview with our guest, Jonna, and she wants to talk about her journey as a psychic. And I hope you guys enjoy. Please check out her stuff. They're all linked down in the description. And with that, I hope you enjoy. What does being a psychic mean to you?
Um, I don't know. I've just done it for like the last 25 years. It's not something like I really, okay, it was something I was really interested in. I never thought it would go as far as it went. It started as a hobby and it just evolved into a huge thing.
You never like discovered you had these powers like.
It's so fucking dramatic when people say that shit. Honestly, for me, I feel like it happened more after a loss. I went through a really bad loss. And then I went through like a spiritual awakening. So for me, it wasn't like I could see dead people when I was a little kid. I feel like most people don't. They just say those things. Like, honestly, it evolved because I worked at meditation and I had been reading tarot cards for like 10 years before I really found out how psychic I was.
How did you get into this?
God, I was always into it. Um, I always read like supernatural books, even in junior high school. Um, and then, like I said, I started reading tarot cards in the 80s. That's how long ago. And it really didn't turn anything into anything until I started reading for strangers. But I always went and got readings. I was always like reading about any topic that was supernatural or anything like that.
It's like ghosts and like and the beyond and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a lot with ghost hunting at this point in my life, but yeah, any of that stuff, I was interested in learning as much as possible.
What was your past like? What was that like growing up for you?
I mean, I think that everyone has like childhood stuff, junk, trauma. I think that I was very empathic, but it was like shut down. It was kind of like shake it off, don't be so sensitive, kind of. I also think I was super ADD, and I think that actually helps with readings.
So we're like, are you a child of the 70s or like what area is this?
Mhm. So I was born in 64. So by 1970, I was in kindergarten. And yeah, the whole 70s thing, I embraced. I was there. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely the hippie look in the 70s. So you think that kind of like where you get it, or?
Oh my God. When I was a little kid and people would say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I'd tell them I want to be a hippie. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my dad was definitely a hippie during like I don't know what era, but like he was definitely a hippie in like in his 20s and whatnot.
Oh my God. It was such a fun thing. I grew up in a town that had like a pretty famous college, and people came from all over the United States to go to Beloit College. And I remember I was like in third, fourth, and fifth grade, and my mother would drop me off at the library downtown by the college, and I would talk to hippies like for hours while she ran errands. I thought it was like the coolest thing.
Where, if you remember, I know not everybody remembers their childhood like like visually, but like why were you so fascinated with hippies?
I don't know. I don't know. It just felt like so. I don't know how to explain it.
You were
They were
just
just
really
the coolest
intrigued.
thing you ever saw. Like they were cool.
How did your family feel? And like, what was your relationship with them?
Um, I mean, the relationship with most of my family is complicated. I'm a very conservative family member who really does not want anything to do with this. I mean, we're different politically, we're different lifestyle, and that's fine. My brother thought it was silly until he found out, how can I say this? Oh, this is gonna sound so awful. Until he found out that a lot of people knew who I was. And then
You
he was
mean?
like, "Yeah, that's my sister."
What do you mean they knew who you were, like internet fame, or?
I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years. So like when he was in the hospital and the nurse came in, she's like, "Oh my God, it's you." Yeah, I mean, because I used to do radio and things like that. So small town shit. You know what I
It's the
mean?
internet before the internet, basically. Like you were that kind of
Oh
famous.
yeah. When I first started doing this, there we had the internet, but it was like you've got mail kind of internet,
Yeah.
and no social media whatsoever.
Do you think do you think like because you sent me two links like for your Facebook and your and you have a TikTok.
Yeah.
It's not like big, but you still have them. Like, do you think like social media is kind of a like made it your like your I don't know if it's a is it a business or like what how would you describe
Oh
it?
yeah, I file taxes as a business every year for the last 20 some years for this. But I was a hairdresser, so that was my first business. And so I was used to being self-employed and taking appointments and that kind of thing. So then I closed my salon down, started a little boutique, and that's when I started doing readings for people, because I didn't know them. Like, it's one thing to read for people you know, but it's a whole other thing to read for strangers. So I read for all these strangers, and that's when a DJ had come in, and I ended up on a morning show. And that's when I started getting a lot of clients doing house parties every weekend. I ended up shutting down my boutique and just taking this on as a full-time business.
What was I feeling like? Because there had to be some pressure at least.
Oh, because I had to live on it. I was a single mom. I had to live on it, yeah. But I was doing 3 parties a week. Back in the early 2000s, I was charging $300 a party. I was doing 3 a week. I was raising 3 kids on my own.
You said you have kids. What do they feel about this?
I mean, they're adults now. And my daughter has always been really open to it. So is my son. I mean, they grew up with it. So they didn't think anything of it.
Are they like hippies as well, or like what are they like?
No, no. My son struggles with ADHD and some bipolar issues, so he's got his own life. He's in his 30s. Um and my daughter is like a college graduate, married, lives a little bit conservatively, but she's starting to look into like reading tarot cards now and things like that.
What you say you don't have like you don't believe like people when they say like they're exaggerating when they say they have powers and like how what and you like do tarot cards like how would you like is that like is that your own like version of powers or how would you like describe yourself?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay. So it's very multisensory. Tarot cards is a whole different thing. Tarot cards, you can rely on the cards and you can bring in your own intuition with cards. And that's fine. When I do a mediumship reading, I use all of my, like, it's very multisensory. I see, hear, and feel all at the same time. Sometimes I taste and smell. That's why I say being a little ADHD is very helpful for doing readings,
Why do you laugh about it?
because it took me until I was 60 to figure that out.
That ADHD kind of helps in its own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize I had ADHD like in high school, and I would literally study for a test while listening to an album. So let's say I was listening to Eagles' greatest hits, and I would study and do my work while listening to an album. The next day at school, I freeze up for a test or freeze up to do something until I started thinking about the music I listened to the night before. I'd actually start singing it in my head and the answers would come. So once I started like remembering the music, I would remember the names of the people and the history thing and all of that. So when I do readings, and you're going to laugh at this, but it truly is how I work. I will have flashbacks of 70s music, 70s TV commercials, iconic 70s stars. And if I'm supposed to say the name Sean, I will see the beginning of the Hardy Boys TV show.
Is it just Sean?
No, it's just Sean Cassidy was in that show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And if I'm supposed to say like, okay, here's a good one. If I'm supposed to say Hawaii, I will see Greg Brady on a surfboard.
Okay. And forgive me, I'm young compared to that's gonna sound rude, but you get what I mean. Like I'm young. I'm only like 19,
No.
so.
Oh, yeah, you're a baby, honey. You're younger than my kids. But what I can tell you is you get flashbacks, and we grew up on TV. I am Generation Jones. So we grew up on TV, like literally more TV than you can imagine. We didn't have video games. We didn't, so TV was our life. And we only had 3 channels. So it was limited. But you talk to other people my age and you say, like, the I Dream of Jeannie thing, and everybody would cross their arms and bob their head. Like they get it. So there's a lot of things that I grew up with, and you just get a flash, and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to say the name Jeannie because you see Jeannie come out of the bottle or whatever. So the 70s have a big piece of kind of that flashback moment for me to say certain things.
Do you view yourself any way different than maybe like what I'll just say normal people?
I am a normal person. I don't tune in unless I'm ready to tune in. So I don't walk around open all the time. So in order for me to do a reading, I have to ground people, ground myself. Yeah, it's a little bit of a process. And then I do a reading. And I feel like every psychic you'll ever talk to has their own dictionary of symbols and ways that they get information.
Do you think like your ability to like tarot cards? Of course, anybody can do tarot cards, but do you think like, and even though you said you don't think they're like really powers or anything, but like, do you think this like do you think like this skill I guess can like run through
An
your family?
ability. I call it an ability. Absolutely.
Do you think it can run to like maybe your kids, for example?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if we have like the same thinking patterns, for sure.
Is it depend on thinking patterns like I mean 70s for example?
Yeah. Okay. So I've taught a lot of mediumship courses, and I literally have taught people who are more natural at it, who get it, like you don't even have to explain a lot to them, and they're starting to do it. And then I've taught people who just don't, they're too logical. They're too like accountant brained to even try to make it work.
So like having a normal job and they live more like a normal day-to-day basis.
I was a hairdresser, so I picked up energy off people just by shampooing them.
Is there do you have any way of dealing with the haters? Like you have to get some skeptics and like people who are like
Oh God, there's haters everywhere. And you know what? They're not cashing my checks.
I one of the people like back like I don't remember if it was a year or whatever, but one of the last psychic I talked to a psychic maybe a little while back, a couple months ago, and they mentioned the way they view it is they like to think like the haters are basically animals before like becoming humans. Like they're just whenever they're angry, they're throwing the papers up, and that's kind of like how they view it. They're basically just animals, and like
They're just low self-esteem and they are angry they have to work for a living, like in a different way.
do you ever think you're gonna ever have to go back to that?
Oh my God. I'm 61. I'm not planning on doing anything else.
I'm just curious, how much business are you doing now? Still the same?
I do okay.
How much is okay for you?
I mean, I charge $90 for a half-hour reading. I charge $500 for a house party. I also do audience events. So I have an event right now planned for March where I sell tickets. I'll be on stage, pull people up front. Yeah, I'm not going to complain.
Are there any misconceptions you think like people should know about you and your job?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like people think it's drama, and it's really not drama. I mean, when I'm shut down, I live my life like everybody else. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not picking up I don't go shopping and pick up messages for people.
How about like the people who think maybe you're basically scamming people?
There's people who think that.
Do you view them like is it the same as the what we just went over,
I
or how
just
do
tell
you?
them to go put money in the church plate. Go put your money in the church plate then. I'm not a witch. I'm not I mean, I believe in God and I believe in good.
Has your life changed in any way? Like you were like we all started out normally, but like when doing this, has your life changed in any way? You think
I was a
better?
hairdresser through my immediate adult life. Like I went to beauty school at 17. So that was like learning how to live on commission and take appointments and hustle, and I bartended a little bit, and I don't think any of that is normal. Like, it's not like I went to work 9 to 5 and brought home a paycheck. I had to hustle for every bit of money I made. I feel like that really put me in line to run my own business and do. But when I first started doing this 25, 26 years ago, nobody was doing house parties. Nobody was taking appointments in an office like I was.
How are you different?
I mean, now there's readers everywhere. That's what I'm saying is back then when I first started, there weren't readers everywhere.
Like you were like not the first of your kind, but you were kind of like the beginning, yeah, like and from back
I
in
mean,
your
there
time.
just weren't people doing house parties. I was doing 3 a week.
Speaking on like your hairdressing, like, what got you into that? Could you take me to the beginning?
I mean, I was 17. I thought it was going to be glamorous to do hair. It was a lot of work and not a lot of money back in the 80s.
So you were just a dumb teenager who thought it would be a nice job to do.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that? Like, I mean, how long were you like a hairdresser?
Oh,
Like what
until
was
I
the
was
years?
40. I did hair until I was 40.
Well, I think well that all was all my questions. I'm sorry for my bad audio. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and it was lovely meeting you.
You too. You take care. Thank you.
Yeah.